God has been taking me through a bit of a roller coaster ride this week to do with the offshoots of the Caine seed. God told me that in Genesis 4:1 to 16, that Cain made an offering of his seed, which was semen, according to what God dropped me, and God rejected it. Abel made fat portions of his firstborn flock. God was pleased with his offering. This led Cain to murder his brother Abel because God wouldn't accept his offering, and no doubt he was probably jealous. God has given me a lot of prophetic words over the past year about the Cain seed and the profile of his offspring. As he said in an earlier prophetic message, that there are two races on this earth, those who belong to the serpent, Satan, Cain, and those who belong to Adam and are fully human. This is called humanity. The seed that belongs to Cain is from the fallen angels. Obviously Satan is a fallen angel who was previously known as Lucifer. And these people, in their most raw, pure state, eat children, torture without remorse, murder, covet, currently in a state of ruling the earth, but are about to be cut down from their hiding places as a resubmergence of Jesus is coming home again. In other words, people have had enough of this, and like they're turning back to Christ, where they should have been kept in the place, in the first place. The offspring of his seed is like everywhere, and like all the sin and stuff. I mean, I'm still trying to work out whether like the most sin comes from this seed, because it's just hard to differentiate between humanity from Adam's seed and Cain's seed, and whether Cain's seed can influence like Adam's seed to do this. But I think people who know Christ, and believe, they're automatically in the divine law, so they know the difference. So I don't know if it's people that are lost that can be easily fooled by Cain's seed. They have obtained their kingdom on this earth via infiltration, but these people cannot surface because God commanded in Genesis. I think there was like a D notice. Like a D notice is like something that's hidden, like or can't be talked about. This was like a thing years ago, like on TV. Where I think God put like some sort of lack of visibility on these people to kind of protect them. Cain's seed, because it wasn't his fault, that Eve took Satan the snake's seed and had a child, which was Cain, and all that line that went down, that have got like Satan's mark on him, the pridefulness and the hate, and like obviously later in the Bible it goes on about Enoch, not in the Bible, but it does talk about the giants in the Bible, going on about the Nephilim, which was like the angels that went with human women. And like sin was like the fall from there and stuff, as in like Genesis, when Eve had sex with the snake, which is Satan. Still don't know how that come about, and it's still pondering, and God won't tell me, because I understand that angels are usually genderless, and I just wondered whether it was his fallen state that he became a kind of man or whatever. It might be like Jesus that came to earth, who knows. Anyway, Genesis and earth. So there, from the fall in Genesis, there was a clear divide between the two races, but God says that he will crush the serpent with his heel. So ultimately humanity will overcome the curse. And like he impresses a lot on love, like it seems like total crap, doesn't it, that Cain's seed is mixed with us, and like like it's hard to differentiate sometimes, like especially if you're like having an affair, well, not a hair affair, but they do put you in affair modes, don't they? I'm talking about, you know, like if you've got in a relationship or something with somebody who's close to Caine's seed or is from that line, they're going to be a bit more narcissistic, you know. And like you can't always tell from face value, you know, how far down the line that coldness goes. So, you know, like especially as a Christian, you got to really watch that you're equally yoked with someone. You know, like I got burnt with somebody who was pretty narcissistic, you know, and it leaves a big hole in your soul and damages your future relationships when, you know, like you've been intimate with somebody who's that cold, who walks off with somebody else within a second's notice. But God was impressing on me that he was hoping, you know, that he would train out, you know, like, and I'll go on about this in a bit. As I say, he told me a lot this week, and I'm pretty rough because I've been like going through hell in V2K. God revealed to me embarrassingly that he put a form, as I say, of D-notice on Caine to hide him, otherwise he would have been killed. Somewhere in Genesis, I'll have to put it at the end of this. He let the wheat mingle with the tares and hoped that it would be trained out and become weaker, the strong will to sin, and therefore give a chance for the seedlings of Caine to turn to God. Now that one's a touchy one. As I say, like, you know, that's between God and these people that come from that line. It's very mysterious. I can't work it out. God also has told me about bloodlines, how they are super strong in holding down generations, especially if certain behaviours such as murder or sexual abuse keeps happening. Someone will find it hard to fight the urge to resist to that sin, but all things are possible in Jesus Christ. The thing is now, I think we have been so mixed in with each other that there may not be that much telling on the surface wise who is purely from Cain seed and who's from the humanity Adam seed, unless it's from the high elite families that have inbred with each other to keep the line purebred. I mean, these are monsters that eat children and stuff like that, and there are a lot of celebrities that are involved with this as well. He says there is a line of golden ones as illustrated in a Bowie song called Pretty Things, where the two races will meet together as a little children that are joined race in the sight of God. The characteristics are now clear. Who is driven by the serpent seed? That's basically a narcissistic nature, who have low empathy, selfish in nature, cannot relate to another human being, doesn't relate to another person's suffering, enjoys hurting others and so on, and is easily bought. These people are usually engaged in sin and are ever more wrathful and sharp-tongued the more sin they indulge in. And as I have said, sin perforates their souls and they become ever more wrathful. God has given the serpent seed a chance to turn to him, even though they are more likely to head towards sin, as it's in their bloodline. Also, the serpent seed can trap humanity in strongholds and lure them to make them bitter just like themselves, so they can pretty much blend in. Also, you can recognise close lines to Cain, for the Jezebel spirit is active, and it can mesmerise people. Now, I don't know if they can cause living spells on the viewer, but they are very, very alluring. And as Madonna said, Lucifer was considered a beautiful morning star in his heyday. So apparently these people are quite mesmerising, you know, like especially like the women, you know, that can lead you down dark alleyways and stuff. So as I say, like I've been going through a lot of like intense stuff in V2K to do with this, and I've been putting things up on my posts as well to do with there's a lot of stuff with Madonna going on at the moment, Tom York, yeah, and there's like literally a war in V2K. That's why I look terrible. So they're trying to restrict my breathing again. Okay, that's the end of this one. Thank you.